Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really good. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Malin, and today I'd like to show you how to make some loaded mushroom nachos with a yummy cashew cheese sauce. And it's a great party or get-together dish, perfect now for the summer when you're having your friends over or your family for that matter. And it has a few components, so we're going to be making this sort of mushroom taco meat, if you will, with black beans. Then there's the cashew cheese sauce that's going to be a little bit spicy with jalapenos, and I'm also going to make a simple salsa and a guacamole, if we can call it that. It's almost not really a guacamole, but there's going to be avocado, and those are the four components. But before we get into cooking, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video and tell you a little bit more about them. Squarespace is an all-in-one website builder with lots of great tools to make it easy to build a beautiful and well-functioning site without any previous knowledge about coding or website building. Personally, I've used Squarespace to create my online food photography portfolio, and I really like that it is so easy and intuitive to use. There are plenty of themes, font combinations, and color combos on Squarespace to get you started, and there are themes for many different purposes, so it's great for everyone from business owners and e-commerce all the way to creatives and bloggers. So if you're thinking about creating a website for any purpose, check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/goodeatings for 10% off your first website or domain. So now to get started, I'm going to first soak the cashews in hot water. Doing it in hot water means that you can do it for just like 15-30 minutes rather than for several hours to soften them up so that they're easy to blend for the cheesy sauce. And it's important to do this, it makes them much more creamy. And then I'm going to get started on the mushrooms, going to chop them up and get them cooking. So let's go. For this recipe, I'm using two types of mushrooms. I've got chestnut mushrooms and oyster mushrooms, and I do this because I like the mixture of textures, and I'm using 450 grams for 4 portions. To prepare the mushrooms for cooking, all I do is chop them into little pieces or cubes. Mushrooms are really great at soaking up flavor, which I think is super for using in Mexican recipes where you want to use a lot of spices. And the first thing we're using to flavor things up within this recipe is some onion, so I'm just finely chopping up half an onion. Next, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of avocado oil to my skillet and heat that up. And then I will just fry off the onion before adding in the mushrooms, just to soften them and give them some color. This will take only a couple of minutes. Then I add in all the mushrooms and start cooking them off, but pretty much instantly I'm going to add all my spices, and I've got half a tablespoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and half a teaspoon of ground coriander. This is going to give the mushrooms lots of flavor, and I promise you they will be really yummy. So you just want to stir the spices through and then season everything with salt and mix that through again and allow it to cook. So now that the mushrooms are cooking away, that's gonna take a little while, maybe 7, 8, 9 minutes for them to soften and really absorb the flavors of the spices. So in the meantime, we can now make the cheesy sauce, and we have the cashews that I'm going to just drain and rinse, and I also have some steamed carrot here that I'm going to add to the sauce, which gives it a better texture as well as a nice cheesy color and a little bit of sweetness. And of course, we're going to add a bunch of other things to make it taste cheesy. And we can also make the salsa in this time, I think. So let's get cracking. When the cashews have been soaking for those 15 to 30 minutes, you will see that they have plumped up, and if you touch them, they're much softer than before. So just drain and rinse them and then add them to the jug of a high-speed blender. Then I go in with half of a steamed medium-sized carrot, as well as half a tablespoon of light miso paste, which will give this lots of umami flavor. I also add in a 1/3 cup of nutritional yeast which is what adds that cheesy flavor. And I'm also adding in half of a tablespoon of pickled jalapenos for some heat. Next, I also add in half of a teaspoon of garlic powder, because you can never have too much garlic, and half a cup of soy milk to blend it all smooth. I'm also adding in the juice of half of a small lemon for a little bit of tanginess. Finally, I season with salt to taste, and I blend the sauce until it's silky smooth. And it's preferable to use a high-speed blender here, because it's going to do a better job at blending those nuts really smoothly. I usually blend the sauce on the highest speed for a couple of minutes just to make sure that it's really smooth, and then I transfer it into a jug or a bottle, something that's easy to pour from, and I set that aside while I make the salsa. And the salsa is super simple. I start with a cup's worth of cherry tomatoes in different colors. It's summer, so I like to use these heirloom tomatoes that are more available now. And then I'm gonna also chop up a little bit of this fresh onion. You could use any type of onion that you like. I just use a small bulb for this recipe. Finally, I'm also going to chop up some fresh coriander or cilantro. I use a large handful here, and I just chop that up finely. Once I've transferred all the chopped veggies into a mixing bowl, I'm going to squeeze in the juice of half a fresh lime into the bowl as well, just to add a lot of brightness and zest. Then I will also season with salt to taste before mixing it really well to combine, and then setting it aside. Alright, so now I'm just going to let the salsa and the sauce sit to the side while I finish the last bits. And this is actually a good thing, because it allows all the flavors to come together and marry, and for the salsa to become really nice and juicy. And the next steps is to finish off the mushrooms that I'm then going to layer with some corn chips. And I just wanted to show these corn chips for all my fellow Swedes out there. They are from ICA. They're a chili flavored chip with spices and salt. They're really yummy. They go really well with this dish. But if you're not in Sweden and you can't get a hold of these, of course, any corn chips will do. Even if you're in Sweden and you have other corn chips in your house, go for them. Salted will be perfect here as well. There's lots of flavor going on anyway. But enough about the corn chips. Let's get back to the mushrooms. After about 8 or so minutes of cooking, your mushrooms will look something like this. They will have softened and shrunk and soaked up all those spices. And that's when I add in 1 can of drained and rinsed black beans. I stir those through, and then I add in a teaspoon of my favorite Valentina hot sauce. But you could use any hot sauce that you like. You just want to stir that through, and then you're ready to layer up your nacho dish. To serve about 4 people, I use 250 grams of chips that I spread over 2 layers. And then in between and on top of the chips, I will spread my mushrooms and black beans. At this point, I've also preheated my oven to 200 degrees Celsius so that I can just pop the dish in there once I've layered it up for a couple of minutes to heat up. Okay, so now that the nachos are cooking away back there, they're just going to heat up really. It's going to take maybe a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, just to warm up and get a little bit of color. So in the meantime, I'm going to make a guacamole, or I don't even know if we can call it a guacamole. It's mashed avocado with just some lime and salt. This dish has so much going on already. I don't really think it needs a fully fledged guacamole, but you can of course go wild with it. But I'm gonna make a simple one. Again, to serve 4 people, I'm using 2 quite small avocados that I just cut up. I remove the pip and I cube them up in the flesh so that I can just easily scoop them onto a dish where I will mash them. Again, I'm squeezing the juice of half a lime over the avocado before seasoning with a little bit of salt, and then going crazy with a fork just to mash them up nicely. Here you can go as fine or as chunky as you like. I like little chunks in my avocado, but you do you. At this point, the layered nachos in the oven should be nice and hot and ready to be topped. And the first thing that I do is spread the cheese sauce over the top before dolloping on the guacamole or the avocado, whatever we should call it. And then I go in with the fresh salsa that I try to disperse across the dish. And then I like to also just top with some fresh red onion because it adds a nice contrast and shape on top. And I also go in with some more fresh coriander. And those are my loaded mushroom nachos. I really love how vibrant this plate of nachos ends up looking. It's so summery to me and the flavors are yummy. I love Mexican food and the mushrooms were definitely inspired by Provecho, the book I showed you in a previous video where Edgar Castrejon shares all his yummy vegan Mexican recipes, and they go so well here. They're chewy, they're flavorful, and it's nice with the beans for an extra sort of protein source, and then there's all the creamy textures from the guacamole or the avocado and the cheesy sauce, which of course adds lots of flavor. Then you have the freshness from the salsa, which is exactly what it needs, and I really hope you will try it. It's yummy. Share it with your loved ones, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you all very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Cheers!